Clay Travis, some of you guys may be familiar with him. Let's just call him a TV host. Broke the bank, sold his company to Fox, 100 million, so, you know, Outkick is doing it. Conservative platform, etc. But he got a tape that's going viral that is interesting. He pushes back a lot on, as he calls, the woke culture. And what that could be to you is different to me, but I know what it is. He broke down the criticism of the black quarterback and said, hey, white quarterbacks have been criticized as much. As you listen to him, he starts to talk about John Elway back in the days before the championships. He starts to talk about quarterbacks that have been criticized like Steve Young, who couldn't win the big one, and then finally did it, except Peyton Manning, he said, was the one most criticized. And from being a player who played when Peyton Manning played, until he won it, oh, they were on his head like none other. And now we know how, obviously, how the black quarterback has been criticized over the years, even recent times, where you tell a quarterback to play receiver, and then he's like, no, I'm disrespectful. So I really want to throw it out to everybody. Is the criticism of the black quarterback more than the white quarterback? Or is it just we're involved because it is us?
Let me start, James. Let me start, and I'll be real quick with this.
You know you're not.
There's a difference between...
I mean, with that shirt on, I doubt this conversation with that shirt is going to be real quick, but go ahead.
Well, there's a difference between getting your play criticized and being eliminated from contention for the position. They didn't let black people play quarterback.
But this is a present day conversation. One thing, let me just preface it by this. No, let me preface it. Because if we don't acknowledge where we are, then we don't acknowledge, one, the progress, the advancement, and three, we're not in reality. Like, I know, look, we can go back, how far you want to go back? 1,500, 1,700, 1,800. Like, we can always go back. But I'm saying right now, as we look back, are we getting criticized more than them now? Or they actually were getting criticized too, but it wasn't our problem.
I think the black quarterback is being criticized. This is my dude, because this is my dude though. He's become my dude. But understanding that the black quarterback is being criticized more because everybody out there, when you see them on TV, every black quarterback is supposed to be a triple threat. A dual threat. Triple threat.
That's a lot.
They shouldn't be. No, you're missing the point. I'm saying, I'm talking about the middle. But I'm saying the media. We're talking about now. We're talking about currently now.
Well, I mean, now as of you don't look at who just retired, my man, Teddy Bridgewater. You don't look at him as a triple threat.
I'm talking about fans and how they perceive. We're talking about the fan perception. Not talking about the media. I'm talking about not talking about the dudes in the locker room. The fans, when you see about a guy, why didn't he run? Because guess what? He can't run. You know what I'm saying?
Is that racial though?
No, it's not a racial thing. It's not racial.
Josh Allen, when I see he don't run, I'm like, why didn't he run?
But the question that you're saying, why they get more criticized, this is the reason why I think they get more criticized is because the expectation from the fan is, why doesn't he do, why they all are not like this, like Lamar?
My first question is he black getting criticized more than him white? Because I'm saying, and what Clay is saying, is let's really reevaluate this. Because I grew up in the era, Steve Young was the first sack I ever got was against Steve Young, so I always loved him. But he was a dual threat, white guy. Didn't get the credit, right? John Elway, dual threat. They told him stop running so much, so he started handing it off more. I grew up when the white quarterback was getting criticized. Now, there weren't as many black quarterbacks, but they were not getting criticized like that. Then I come in the league next year, Peyton Manning throws 28 interceptions, doesn't win a championship for, or at least advance 6 years. And I'm like, okay, they have been getting criticized, but it seems like that plight or that label has been afforded to the black quarterback and not the white quarterback. We're going to dive into this, but my first question is, are we getting criticized more than them, or are we just oblivious to their criticism?
It's not. Go ahead.
At this point in 2025,
that's what he's saying.
Who's saying that we're getting criticized more? Are black people complaining that black quarterback?
Oh, well, anytime some slight comes towards Lamar, it never stops with Lamar's play. It starts going and getting greater with the black quarterback play.
Because Bryce Young is not a triple threat. He's not a dual threat. We're gonna go like this. He's not a dual threat in a sense that he is a quarterback. He's a pocket passer, and that is what he does. He may run a little bit, but he's not.
Right, and so Bryce Young is probably proving the point of Clay Travis. Like, ain't nobody talking bad about. Go get it, Bucky.
Well, I would say like it's hard because like,
I hear you, man.
be true at once. I think what Clay Travis is doing is trying to have revisionist history. I talk about what Elway and those guys were being criticized, but at the time, black quarterbacks weren't playing in the league. This weekend, we'll see 5 teams start black quarterbacks.
Out of 8.
Out of 8. And so when we talk about the drastic change that we've seen over the last 2 decades at the position, I think we can now talk about, hey, the playing field is leveling when it comes to the criticism and the critiques. The reason why Lamar is so polarizing is because I feel like in the draft, because you got to remember, in the draft when they talked about him, they talked about wide receiver and those things. But what I would say is that's more of the lack of diversity on the media side in terms of the people that are covering the prospects don't look like the prospects. So when they offer analysis, they don't really understand how to fully break that part down based on where Lamar Jackson comes from, what he looks like, and those things. I'll say this. When I worked in front offices, they always talked about the quarterback needs to be presidential in terms of how he presents himself, how he looks at the press conference, and those things. Well, he's eliminated and blown up those narratives and norms because he's always been true to
Or
himself.
is he in sync with what presidential is? Because as Donald Trump, former president, now president again, he is not fitting the mold. He is not checking the box. So, see, this is why this is a deep conversation, and we can't be lazy and say the same things like, because there were black quarterbacks when Elway was playing. There was a Warren Moon out there. There was a Doug Williams. There was Randall. They were out there. Like, we had gotten past where you can't play at all, Warren Moon, to like, okay, you can play, but I'm just trying to make sure we attack this conversation properly and really say, are we getting criticized more, or is it the trauma of being not allowed still saying?
Right, so again, talking about the transcending of the black quarterback, which is a great podcast, award-winning podcast, Shadow Ball out there, go check it out. Little plug. But again, so we're talking about where they're 15, 16, 17-year-olds, right? We go across the country. At Elite 11, we look at the top quarterbacks across the country, right? And obviously, there's way more black quarterbacks now, and we grade them the same. On ESPN, like he just said, there's going to be 8 games this week. So 5 black quarterbacks, there's going to be 4 losers. So they're going to get criticized for what? Losing. It's just they're black, so we're going to be like, oh, the black quarterback. No, they're just too many. You have to talk about a black quarterback every Monday morning on ESPN because they're losing, because there's more of them.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that? When I got to Columbia, everybody was like, man, how you go to that white school? And I was like, what are you talking about? And I knew what they meant, but I was like, go deeper. And then they were like, oh, man, there ain't enough of us here. And I was like, you know what? It's funny. There's enough black people here where I ain't got to talk to every black person. That's what that lets you know. Like, it's enough in here that I ain't.
Lamar Jackson with the criticism he gets, it's not just because his skin's black. It's because of his public persona.
He doesn't fit the mold.
He wears the jeans.
The afro and all, the braids,
He's just unapologetic in himself. You know, and some people don't know how to receive that. He's not like he doesn't dress like a Donovan McNabb. He's not presidential like you mentioned. And he's comfortable with it, and it's something that people that are his endorsements, they have to get comfortable with that. If he looked like a Josh Allen, or if he had that presidential look, he would get way more endorsements. He would get
Jalen.
It's kind of like what Allen Iverson did for the NBA. Allen Iverson did for the NBA.
Listen to this. Let me add these layers. There's a conversation parallel to this that is like the only way to get on TV is to live up to a stereotype if you're black, right? After the Cosby Show, minstrel shows, everybody live up to stereotype. So, which way you want it? Lamar is living his, as you say, unapologetic life, himself. Black, whatever you want to call it. Now, that's what we reward in this culture. Give me more, give me more. All the rappers. What's the conversation around rap? If you ain't trying to kill somebody, say the N-word, you ain't getting the deal. So which one is true? If you, no, don't, one more layer. The logic will tongue twist you and logically twist you because you're saying the rewards are to be that stereotype. Well, Lamar, in ways, looks like the stereotype, as you said. Where's the rewards? Why the criticism? Well, which way do you
It depends on what region that you live in the country. If you live in Alabama, they don't want to see that.
They don't want to see that.
You know, if you live in LA, it's okay.
That's true.
If you live in Florida, it's all right. But if you live in Middle America, they don't want to see that.
Yeah.
You still have a lot of black quarterbacks that do go up there with the traditional suits on.
Jalen Hurts.
You still got
he'll wear his, and he'll also
Yeah, but see, also.
Russell Wilson.
and then you'll have them switch it up too.
I'll break it down to you.
You know what I'm saying? It's new.
Like I said, the NBA, here's the kicker, right? When you said Allen Iverson didn't have no braids and no tats until he got paid, though. That's what y'all felt in the real. He didn't do nothing. He was not acting like AI until he got that.
Is this Chris Brown? Like Chris Brown?
Chris Brown. Paid. No, Ricky Con, when he got his 120, I said he got paid, and then you saw AI come out after he got.
The AI that was at Georgetown was not the one that became the cultural
That's Chris Brown.
icon.
There are many like that.
What's being left out of this is we're not sitting around talking about black quarterbacks getting mistreated right now. This dude is making this shit up.
No.
We're
No,
not-
no,
me and
that's
my
not-
friends aren't talking about.
Well, you ain't got enough black friends. This is a real conversation.
Sorry.
This is a
We're not typically talking about Lamar getting less. Getting treated.
Yes, they are. They are saying that the MVP race is. Listen, they're saying right now. Can I finish? Let me finish. Let me finish. They are saying right now the MVP race is close because of race and, well, last year Josh had the numbers and you gave it to Lamar. This year Lamar got the numbers, give it to Josh. And then what glues that together is. Yeah, it really is. I mean, doesn't mean you don't.
Those are different. Those are different
race.
conversations.
No.
There's a racial element. And so, like, I danced around it when we had the conversation, right? Because whenever you put those two guys together, Lamar and Josh, because they're in the same draft class, and my contention, like, the way that they celebrated Josh and his athleticism or whatever, they criticized Lamar for those things. And I say that it's not a Lamar or Josh problem. It's a media problem. Because the people that you see talk about those things typically don't look like Lamar. And so the more diversity that you have on the other side talking about that, the less that we have those conversations talking about that. Because we can go to any barbershop and we're telling Lamar, when it comes to criticizing or whatever, but because we all look like Lamar, it's not an issue.
You're backing up exactly what I just said. I said we're not talking about that.
Who's the we? What's your
Me and my friends.
But we can't use that as our litmus test. Only.
You're talking about Lamar's advantages and disadvantages, his strengths and his weaknesses. We're not sitting up saying Lamar is getting mistreated.
No. People are actually.
What he's saying is amongst us.
Oh,
we're not talking about that. So why are we giving that guy the credit?
He's making that shit up.
Which is
No.
It's probably because
I don't-
there's a thing, I don't know if we can mention, like, I think Jamil Hill
just did a whole video on it.
She just did.
She's black.
No, but
That's us. No, you can't discount her when she's not saying what you want to hear or what you ain't saying.
I'm not discounting her at all.
Most of his friends are white anyway.
What is it?
But no, it's
the turtleneck. Okay, no. Bucky, I'm with you. Bucky, keep going, Bucky, because I don't.
because it's interwoven.
It really is.
Thing. And like so much of the conversation that we're gonna have after this game, it'll be indirectly touched on. Like it'll set off some different things. And like the criticism would be like, if I support Lamar, it's like, oh, you support him because he's black. It's not because of that. Like maybe he's my favorite player. And so it's just this thing that we can't get past because we can't have real open conversations
We're here.
that involve race.
Yeah.
And so if we could have an open conversation and acknowledge that race was there, and at one point racism or whatever, all of this exists, then we can have a real conversation.
They won't have that. They will never have that. Right. They will never have that conversation in the production offices at ESPN or Fox. It'll never happen.
You know what's weird? And obviously we have worked there. They do have the conversation in this way. Let's talk about what's hot. And what's hot is this conversation. And then it finds its way like water to the same sensibilities. Yes. It will never be balanced. So the conservatives, whatever you want to call that group that's going to be like, wait a minute, I got all these white examples of him getting killed. That doesn't get brought up and rewarded. What is culture? Culture is what you reward. If you're at Fox, you're at ESPN, our culture is not to go out there and start beating your chest saying the opposite, the examples that counter that culture. And the culture is liberal, the culture is okay to plight, and et cetera. So it becomes an unbalanced conversation that's not real. What I want to do here, I hear you're saying me and my friends don't. Well, then this is one that maybe you sit out, because it ain't even like me and my friends. It's just like I've been burdened with Lamar Jackson, so athletic, he could play another position. He's stubborn to it. Turns out he was right. And all of that is laced with, ain't he a brother? And I'm like, okay, let's talk through it, because Josh Allen doesn't get the same criticism, as you said earlier, with the same attributes. He's just a bigger version doing it. From Wyoming, not from Florida, South Florida. So I like this conversation, because if we really look at it, because Jamel Hill acknowledges it, others, it's really something we got to try to figure out and wring that towel a little more than just saying it ain't that serious or we're going past that.
I think the worst conversation regarding this, because Lamar Jackson's a proven quarterback, right? I think the Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts thing is worse, because Jalen Hurts doesn't play quarterback like Josh Allen. So they look at the Jalen thing, oh, he definitely shouldn't be a quarterback because he doesn't throw the ball, he doesn't do these things as a quarterback. And we're saying, like, why you let other people do that, right? Why the black people have to get on him because he doesn't look like Josh Allen, Joe Montana, Troy Aikman throwing the ball. He's still a quarterback. He's still a black quarterback. Let him be his own version of being a black quarterback. To me, that's a bigger version.
And I say it even goes deeper, because we are impacted by what we see in games. So who typically calls games? Former quarterbacks. Oh, yeah. But we haven't seen former black quarterbacks in the broadcast booth. True. And so it's not about black and white per se, it's more playing style. So Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo all played the game a certain way. And so there may be a lack of appreciation for someone's game who's a little unorthodox. Because when Lamar Jackson came in, it was unorthodox to see your quarterback run for almost 1,000 yards. And so it may be hard for Tom Brady to relate and give us analysis based on what Lamar is doing, because he's never played it that way. I feel like it's people unable to see the world through eyes that are not their own. And because of that, that's how we get it spit and fed to.
And just so you guys know, right, that whole Tom Brady, Troy Aikman, Tony Romo look, them days is over. Trust me, when look, all them quarterbacks, they don't have to be Lamar, right? But the Patrick Mahomes, people moving and all that, the athletic quarterback is here for the next 30 to 40. There's not going to be a 6'4".
It's never going back. It's never going back.
Maybe in 50 years or something, but I don't. The next 50 years for sure.
The threat to the defense and the math is too much. It's never going back.
Them days is over.
Yeah.
It's a whole new game.
Also with the commentators, like when you have those elite quarterbacks that did it, that plays in also how the media is picking it up. Yes. So the media was never at their level or does not have their knowledge of the game. So if you got Brady and Aikman saying this, the media is going to go, well, why didn't you do that?
Yeah. And it could come out, and it slips out without explicit bias. I think people are so scared to be called racist or insensitive that they don't really have the conversation. Like, I catch myself sometimes, I'll watch Cooper Kupp, and I'm like, damn, man, he's so crafty. And I'm like, that's messed up. You ever met Cooper, for real, if you ever met Cooper Kupp, he's 6'2", 210, you're like, oh, I didn't know you're that big. I didn't know you're that dude. Right? So we both are guilty on that. Yeah, so when you see a brother playing his athletic card, it's so expected that you don't even respect the card. And but when you see the white, here we go. Here we go. There.
As your casual fan, hold on. I'm not even talking about those guys. I want to talk about Michael Vick.
Yeah.
I didn't look at him as a black or white quarterback, as a casual fan. I looked at a quarterback who is this guy? He's running. He's not throwing the ball. He's running. He's dashing like a running back. He's not playing like a quarterback. Yeah. So, I mean, because I don't have, I don't have the same, I don't know what the right word is. Perspectives as you may have from a racial perspective, right? Even the Jeremy Lin content, I talk to my buddies about it. I think about the dynamic of, there are probably a lot of black people out there who don't like what Jeremy Lin did for a reason, which I agree with. Valid points, right? Yeah. And so even with this conversation you're having, it's not just white, black. There's casual fans who aren't even looking at it that way. And I'll say it myself too. Lamar Jackson, because I saw what Michael Vick did, and unfortunately because of the color, there are certain expectations, like you said, even in the NBA, when I think of a black NBA player, I'm thinking automatically he's got to be fast, strong, athletic, dunking, right? And you got on the opposite side, Luka Doncic, the slower European, knows how to play.
Yeah. And those fit conveniently. Here's the thing, when I walk into a basketball gym, I'm the first pick into the second game. And then they're like, can we get him off our team? This motherfucker's horrible. Come on, big man. Come on, big dog. He's the worst. Yeah. They're like,
Here's the dynamic, right? Again, we've seen
waste. You're a waste.
We've seen athletes, right? We've seen athletes in the gym for 40 to 50 years. Have you guys ever seen a bigger version, a black version of Luka in the gym? A big black version of
a non-athlete, like he's not rising off the ground.
He was more athletic than Luka, but he wasn't super athletic. Maybe Magic? James Harden. Magic?
Luka's 6'9" though. Oh, Luka's 6'9".
That's why I said Melo. Melo's like 6'8", 6'9".
What's your boy that played for Cleveland? He a coach now in Dallas.
Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce was like that too.
Paul Pierce was, in high school, Paul Pierce was dunking. I saw him in high school. He was killing. Okay, there's a couple, but that's to our point. They are not on the tip of our tongue because we're like,
we don't even look at it the same.
Well, also, it's rare that we compare across racial lines. Yeah, it's rare that we'll look at a player and say, hey, this white player reminds me of this black player. This black player reminds me of whatever. And until we're able to have a real transparent conversation where we can say that, that's what
we are saying it right now.
I know. Why is society so afraid to cross those lines?
They are. This is when I'll prove that they're afraid. When Christian McCaffrey was coming out, he was the only comparison to Barry Sanders I've ever seen on the field. But nobody ever said that because Barry's black and Christian was white. When you see those moves he made at Stanford, they're very similar to what he did at Oklahoma State, but the media would not say that.
So I'll give you one as it relates to Buffalo. Sean McDermott was the coach in Carolina when Cam Newton was there. The general manager, Brandon Beane, was at Carolina when Cam Newton was there. Part of the reason why I felt like Buffalo was comfortable with Josh Allen's play is because they watched Cam Newton. Now, they have different personalities, but if you really watch it, if you close your eyes and see Josh Allen inside the 10, they're running quarterback power like Cam Newton. But no one will dance and say, he did what he's like Cam Newton in this area. Oh, he's much better. I'm not saying who's better or worse. I'm saying he reminds me of Cam when he does some of that stuff. But it's being able to have open conversations and real ones. All right, let me button this up because we could go all day on this. It could be a whole show. But I just went to the Clipper game, and there's an example who played Miami Heat were in town, and Tyler Hero. Man, first of all, he insane, and I've been on Tyler Hero for a while, and it's good to see him balling again. But he had a documentary made about him in high school. He was playing an all-black team, so the traditional stereotypes, they high flyers, they killers, pre-game, y'all got to see this. Pre-game, they coming up to Tyler because he's supposed to be the dude. Like, you ain't this. I mean, they talking trash. Getting the game, I think he gave him 41. And he gave him black 41. Like, he was like,
different than white
But yeah. But then I'm not even done. So then I'm like, this is insane. He gave him buckets. I've been there before where you're like, oh, don't judge a book by its cover. That happens, right? So then Tyler all of a sudden makes a decision. I think he's in Wisconsin or somewhere, some state where he doesn't, Indiana maybe. He doesn't go to the state school. He goes somewhere else. They start like everything less than bombing his house. Like everywhere he went, everywhere his family, they destroyed his property and everything. But the crux of it was, here's a kid who's just defying stereotype, and look at all the headwind and resistance he has to deal with in doing that. Want to know why this conversation is not open and honest? Because people don't want to deal with that headwind. Like us, at our age, some of the reasons we don't go out and kick it and hang is because I ain't dealing with all that. The energy, man, these youngsters crazy, right? And so it's the same thing in these conversations. Them youngsters are crazy sometimes. They'll light you up for saying the right thing.